Our guest today is Dr. Prasad Jayaweera. He's an expert in information systems and enterprise modeling. He's currently the Dean of the Faculty of Computing at the University of Sri Lanka, and we are going to have a long form discussion about computing in general and about getting into the digital ecosystem. Dr. Prasad, thank you for being here. Welcome to From the Island.
Thank you very much.
If you could start by sharing some of your personal journey, what brought you to where you are today?
Well, yeah, so if I start from my school days, I selected the math streams, thinking that I want to be engineering domain to work in that area. But anyhow, so there was a era that we have to wait, get into the universities like 2-3 years. So in which I completed kind of a small course in computing.
Okay.
So then I think this is an area. Those days, I mean, I'm talking about the early the 2000 years.
How old were you back?
Then it's like a 25,
Okay.
something like that, right? So anyway, so I lucky enough to got selected to the computer science honors degree then at the University of Colombo. So I specialized computer science there for 4 years. So after that, I had a dream like selecting the academia to do some kind of instead of getting most of our batchmates join the industry. So when you say computing, of course the packages that they are getting are very attractive compared to the salaries that you get in Sri Lankan universities. So anyway, but I had a kind of a passion to join academia and contribute to the knowledge domains and share my ideas with fellows and students. So I joined immediately after my graduation the same university for a little time. So after that, I joined University of Ruhuna down south, where I got a position as a lecturer. Then I lucky enough to got selected for a scholarship from Sweden. It's called SIDA funding. With SIDA funding, SIDA is the government agency for development. Right? So I selected Stockholm University, and I have to always recall the professor Paul Johansson, so who was into information systems engineering, and he's a very well-known character, especially when it's come to conceptual modeling type of things when you're developing computing solutions. So I was selected for that research group.
So it was at this point that you had started specializing in conceptual modeling.
Exactly. Yeah. So when it's come to computing, those days, I mean, most of like our fellow academics were thinking like mostly scientific or computer science type of a thing. So this is like where we try to look at how this technology can deliver different solutions in business context.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you give us an example of like a real world scenario of that coming into play?
Well, I mean, if you name any industry, take agriculture, of course, the technology can deliver a lot, starting from the supply chain streamlining, automation, right? But I mean, if you look at the European countries, I mean, they are getting a lot of benefits out of these solutions. Yeah. Of course, we need fundamental, like very hardcore type of research. But in addition to that, what is mainly needed is like a business IT type of alignments to be successful with any solution. So when I say business, it's not only trading context, but in general, any business you need this business IT alignment. So if you want to really deliver any successful solution. So in that context, what is needed is like you understand the requirement or the concerns of the relevant stakeholders very precisely, which is very challenging because you have to write at the end of the day you have to write an algorithm, right? So this gap needed to be bridged.
You're referring to finding solutions to any sort of problem.
Exactly.
So this could be societal problems on top of business problems. Yeah. Could you give an example of how this would come into play in your industry of education?
Well, I mean, now, I mean, if you look at the, I mean, in general, if you look at the teacher role of a teacher, right? It's like whatever the knowledge that you are having, maybe you trying to transfer. It's like a knowledge transferring activity. We call KTP program, knowledge transfer programs. Mostly what we are doing. But nowadays with the technology, what has happened? Of teacher's role been changed. It's like he's like a facilitator, just a facilitator, right? So you have to understand that, right? So basically, you don't have to teach anything,
Right.
So you just tell what needed to be searched for, what tools to be used to gain the knowledge, right? So this is like one immediate benefit that you can get within the educational context, right?
Could you, so considering your expertise is more information systems and enterprise modeling, we'll get into the transdisciplinary approaches later on. For listeners that are kind of unfamiliar with information systems and your domain, could you explain to them what it is in a simple way?
Well, I mean, now if you look at any society, the members in that society have to behave in a way. So the prior requisition for that is you have to take a decision, what to be done, right? So in that context, you basically using your perception, five sensory system to understand the context, and then take kind of an informed decision, right? So when you are using your five sensory system, there is of course limitation. The how far you can listen, how far you can see, all these are like very much limited, right? But when you look at the facilities available or technology, for example, right? Something that is available in far away can be like very nicely channeled to your understanding, right? So with that, they can be like take very valid, informed decisions, I would say. So which is very nice thing. So they can be like very much beneficial, not only for personally but for the entire society by doing such activities or behavior. I don't know if you are getting my point.
Yes, I get it. In terms of information systems, it's like having a pipeline of information coming through.
Yeah, there's
you're
a
trying to-
concept called information logistics. Maybe you have heard about that. Basically, what is needed is right information to be delivered to right person in right time and right format.
Right.
Right? So you don't have to limit your understanding, your perceptions, what you are getting through the five sensory systems. Right now, I mean, if you disregard all these information systems aside, right, then of course you have very limited, I mean, whatever the decision that you're taking is very much limited to what you are understanding in that particular context. But when you have a system up and running, could be connected with other such lot of solutions integrated very nicely. Then if they are in a position to channel you whatever the required information within the situation that you are facing to take an action.
Right. Makes sense. Do you think this is applicable to pretty much any business, any domain? And do you think that this is something that is common?
When you say domain, you are referring to, I guess, kind of a users doing different activities.
Different activities,
right?
yes.
So if you are doing an activity, what is needed, you have to take a decision what to be done. There may be different options to be selected, right? Then of course information are needed.
Yes. However, prior to technology really shooting off, so what was it like then when you first started? I mean, none of this tech was there. So how would you go about this process before the technology ever came?
Well, I mean, there were different types of knowledge repository. For example, could be textbooks, right? Right. Or you can. We have things like, I mean, if you want to take a very rational decision, of course you reach out for the expertise. We call consultations, right? So all these things were there, like even in manual processes, right? If you're not in a position to take a very acceptable or very knowledgeable decision, then of course you reach out for a knowledgeable person, like consulting, or maybe you have to pay for that, right? So automatically it will create kind of a hierarchy with the knowledge that you are having, right? So they can earn a lot. So if you have that expertise with you,
what was that transition like? So from having no technology, having to do everything manually, and then suddenly you're living through this time where technology is just shooting up, and suddenly your entire industry is getting more and more efficient, more
Yeah.
productive.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what was that like, and in what ways have you seen the biggest change?
Well, I mean, if you look at the traditional businesses, like if you look at any business, it's like they are operating in. I mean, those days we are thinking of productivity, mass production. So what is the layout or the arrangement that you are seeing inside any companies like functional divisions to achieve that, right?
Right.
So you focus on to different functional areas, right? Maybe starting from the understanding recovery, you order, taking the order, and then maybe you are designing the solution, designing part. Then you may be getting into the next stage like a manufacturing. So those are like operating in very isolated divisions in their own silos.
Right.
You may be utilizing technologies for those silos or those departmental divisions.
Right.
But what I have seen, I observed this, even if you go to the bank those days, this transition was happening even in Sweden when I started my postgraduate, right? If you go to a bank, there's a small counter through which you have the interaction. Then there's a series of different authority levels, ending up with the manager. It's like a very nice kind of a pipeline, right? But after the technology being introduced, what I have seen is those small walls being taken away. So there's a small high-standing stool type of a thing on which you have a laptop. So the bank clerk can share that laptop with the customer, and everything is get done on the same spot.
Same spot. Because everything has been connected.
Connected. They don't have to get the clearance or the approval from another party. It's on the system.
So
Right.
essentially, those are the kind of solutions you would create for businesses.
Of course,
Right.
that's what we need.
So if this is what information systems are, the other part that you mentioned is enterprise modeling, right? Is there what's the difference between the two?
Well, when you say enterprise, now if you look at typical value creation processes, right, it goes through different like series of stakeholders doing different type of value additions in different stages. So if you look at the entire thing, that is what you call enterprise, right?
Right.
Right. So you take something in and do a kind of a transformation and add some value and pass it to the next level, right? If you look at the entire system, that is what you call a kind of enterprise application, right?
Right.
But what we are seeing is if these are not very nicely connected, these different parts, right? There are a lot of like, I mean, we call this, what is it called? I can't remember that. So when you place an order, you have to wait a little time to get the delivery. JIT, just in time delivery, right? So that is that is the concept that holds success in the Japan, right?
Yes.
So they just get rid of the stores or warehouses and get delivered the small nut and bolt at the time in which they need that. If you look at the automobile industry, so that is how they started producing mass production of these Toyota type of cars and be successful.
Right. Could you think of could you give an example of this happening in Sri Lanka?
Well, yeah, but that's very interesting. Yeah, I can't think of a. There were some organization. If you look at the government, there were some, for example, not like a nationally deployed kind of a solution, but there are some like in different island-wide, like very small places. We have seen some success stories.
Right.
Right. For example, I can remember if you go to the Dompe Base Hospital, so you can see paperless maintenance of EHR, electronic health records.
That's fantastic.
Right. So all these different service providers, starting from the making appointment, then nursing staff checking the initial investigation, then the doctor prescribing, and then pharmacy giving the medication for the prescribed prescription. All these things are very nicely connected, right? So that is one. Even in our university, we have deployed that type of EHR in our medical center. So no paper being involved. So everything is electronically maintained. even now this is something that I was always referring, like for example, if you look at the Western medicine, right? If you look at the Western medical doctor, he may be treating to the entire country, could be the case, right? But if you look at the traditional Veda Mahatya, so he may be serving to a very small community.
Right.
The entire medical history is in his brain,
Right. Yeah.
the generations of that particular family.
Yes. Yeah.
But now here you are treating for the entire country, or maybe at least for the Western province.
Right.
Right? You can't keep everything. Of course, there is a limitation. Then that is the place where you can get the support from information systems.
Building
so in that case, we
systems.
call electronic health records or something like that. And most important thing, as I see, it is very unethical to prescribe without getting clear understanding onto the medical history.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For example, doctor can prescribe something. We don't know that whether that particular patient took that medicine or not. There is no kind of verification possible. But in Sweden, that is the case, right? You don't get the paper, the prescription on a paper, right?
Well, it
So
can't be
doctor prescribed to
tampered
the
with.
system. The pharmacy is connected, so you go to the pharmacy, you will get that prescribed medicine. So then the doctor can next time the doctor can verify whether the prescribed medicine being taken at least. But here it is not possible in Sri Lanka.
Why is that?
Not connected. So no information systems being.
But why are we so behind, do you think? Why are we so behind in that sense?
Well, then again, the same that we were discussing, right? Because here you need different parties to collaborate, coordinate, right? So when you look at the, my feeling is like when you look at the medical services, right? So it's like a very close territory. As a IT people, very hard to get in, right?
Right.
So if you talk to the information division, for example, in our ministry, if you talk about the electronic health record, they will say, oh, we have done that. We have that solution. But when you go to meet a doctor as a patient, you don't see that. Now you see the difference, right? So if you talk to the information division, Minister of Health, they say, okay, we have done that. Right? The solutions are there. Right? Developing solution is one thing, deploying it in the real context is a totally different thing, right? So to remove a pen from a hand of a doctor and give a keyboard is very challenging.
Changing culture is tough.
Yeah.
Have you seen significant improvements in your time here in academia? When you look at the business world?
Maybe some domains, but still not at the acceptable level, I would say, right? The one reason is like, if you look at the Sri Lankan context, we don't coordinate, right? Maybe, for example, if you look at the government, they may be having very nice, very attractive, strategical understanding of the things. Or maybe they may have even created very nice principal policies. But when you look at the different entities that, of course, need to implement those things are not aware sometimes. No real coordination happening between those two.
Right.
That may be one reason, right?
Okay. What about funding, do you think? Is this, if the government were to want a project to implement some information system for their hospitals, is that something that requires a lot of effort and funding that you think that they can't do? Or?
No, when I look at the funding situations, like authorities or the government, what is needed to be carefully investigated is the return on investment, right? The funding may be available, but they may be investing on least prioritized areas.
Yes.
Could be the case. So that will, of course, not returning what government is expecting, right?
Right.
For example, think that they want to go for a digital economy, right? So then the fundamental requirement is you need to have a talent pool, required amount, rather than getting people from India or some other country with an agreement, right?
Yes.
So you have to produce that, right? So if that is the need, I mean, to align whatever the strategy that government is having, then they have to look at, right? If, for example, if you look at my sector, higher education, they may be investing. Right? They have to decide, I mean, where to invest a lot.
Right. With a purpose.
Then only they can expect expecting the return. Yeah?
Fair.
For example, during the irrigation time, maybe the big Mahavali project is up and running, you may be needing a lot of civil engineers. But if it is not happening, not much construction industry happening, then you have to reduce the number and increase the IT graduates, the number, throughput.
Sure. You think that's common sense though, right?
It's common sense, but it's like the relevant decision makers are not taking relevant decisions. That is the sad thing.
What is your take on the brain drain that's happening in Sri Lanka? You've been a professor here a long time. Um, in order for Sri Lanka to even start building information systems, we need the talent pool, like you mentioned, and you've been in this for decades. So, what has that been like?
Yeah, I look at the brain drain in a different way, right?
Okay.
Because so when you look at these technologies, when you're getting connected to internet type of thing, you can't talk about the geographical boundaries. So that's not there, right? So you have to understand that, right? So you produce people to this cyber world or something, right? So in which you don't see those boundaries, right? Then, of course, I mean, in the prevailing context, if somebody, some expert is leaving the country, of course, there's a kind of impact. That is true. But at the same time, if you very carefully analyze, there are a lot of people to waiting for that opportunity because of the limited places, opportunities in the country, maybe higher education, if you look at. So that is the main reason that we feel the impact is very high when somebody is leaving the country.
Right.
So if you increase the number coming out, maybe like China or maybe like India. So you have to produce people to where the opportunities are. Not only to the country, but also, I mean, in the global
In a
context.
global sense.
Right. So that is my idea. I mean, if people are leaving, you have to produce more.
Produce more talent, is what you mean.
Yeah.
Although, however, if I can play devil's advocate, Dr. Prasad, is if there are, if there's no infrastructure to build talent in a certain area, and then that is not translating or trickling into opportunity here, then the very few that are there are all going to leave. So
That of
it's
course
like a
then,
two-edged sword, right?
Yeah. Then of course there's a impact, right? But when you say brain drain, I mean, if you look at my domain, like IT experts, so you can produce them, right? So, I mean, there are a lot of people waiting for opportunities to get trained, right? If you look at the higher education sector, right? There are a lot of barriers. I mean, there may be private universities, but they have to invest a lot, right? So if your government is thinking that, okay, I mean, they need a talent pool, then of course they have to give more opportunities people to select programs related to their interest or related to the opportunities that is available in the country.
If you were to put your shoes in the government, let's say you're a policymaker, and taking the way your brain thinks with information systems, what would you do to kind of build up this talent pool and this digital economy?
Yeah, I mean, not only for talent pool, I mean, if you look at whatever the policies, whatever the strategic directions, the documents that they have formulated, very attractive, very nice. Even if you look at the AI strategies for the country,
Right.
national, very attractive, very nice principles. But the problem here that I see is on the tables that they are taking decisions at operational levels. These things are not getting channeled.
Is that because they're kind of impractical?
Not really. I mean, I mean, for example, if I look at my business, this higher education. So since I am from a public sector university, we have a very governing authority called the University Grants Commission, right? So they may be taking a lot of decisions in that context, right? So if there's a government strategy, of course they have to tell them whatever the decision that they are taking. For example, investment decision, they have to tell, okay, this is the area that they have to invest, right? For example, now we were talking about this electronic health record. So my understanding, this is not part of any MBBS curricula in the country, right? No doctor getting trained in the Sri Lankan Medical College are getting some kind of exposure or hands-on experience on a typical EHR solution. So now you're asking to remove the pen and give a keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very challenging, right?
Now, how would you go about doing that, do you think? Because obviously other countries have done it. It's not an impossible thing. So,
Uh, the main reason is like these are like documents, right? They invest money for creating that document and leave it aside and take decisions. So this is very bad. This is not good, right? So whatever the decision that these different authorities are taking needed to be justified, backed with the relevant strategic direction or the policy that is formulated by relevant governments.
do you think that we need to catch up to Western nations like Sweden that you mentioned? Do you think that we can kind of leapfrog and catch up?
Yeah, I mean, with this advancement that we are witnessing, for example, if you look at the AI, right? Now, if you look at any domain, right, you take agriculture, you take healthcare sector, but all these, what we call developed nations went through different eras or different stages, right? With the adaptation of these technologies. But now we have AI. So, I mean, like, it's like what we call this leapfrogging, right? You can have huge leap without redoing all these mistakes again and again. You can catch the train very easily, right? With this AI in this AI era, that's kind of an advantage we are having as a developing nation, right? So of course, I mean, yeah, with those experiences, we can be benefited very nicely.
In your industry of information systems, like the introduction of AI has obviously completely revolutionized and transformed it, right? In terms of taking different domains and content from different domains and bringing it together to find a solution. Is that
Yeah.
something that you have personally experienced where AI can take different approaches from different things, and is it advanced enough yet to really uh, take away the human aspect of information systems? So rather than you sitting there and thinking of a system, the AI is doing it for you.
Yeah.
Is what is that going to do to the people in this industry?
Uh, Well, I mean, with the AI, that is the like I mean, from different disciplines or different expertise, you get very nice kind of a holistic kind of a solution, which is very good thing. Uh, uh, but I mean, the information that you are getting, as I see, it's a kind of another information solution, information system, right? It could be a AI agent is doing that. Earlier days, we wrote all the algorithms to get that processed. Well, now it is happening automatically. So, which is kind of the benefit that we are getting from the.
What does it mean for the industry, though? Like people in that sector, what does that mean for them?
What's the future of
What's
the
the future
industry?
for them?
Yeah, I mean, now the what one thing that I can see is like the contribution that you gave to that particular domain as a kind of a job role is going to get changed, right?
Yeah.
Now, for example, if we'll stick to the same domain, like for example, if you look at the medical domain, so of course you need different expertise to take the decision, right?
Yes.
The physician may be playing a central role, but still you need medical laboratory technician support, maybe radiologist support. So you need a huge bunch of expertise looking at the problem and contributing. Now, with AI, of course, you can let the AI too. Now, I have some connection with some of the medical institutions, right? Now, you can scan the entire body and let us know what are the areas that you need some kind of treatment or defects.
Oh.
So that is there. AI-enabled scanning.
Wow.
So you can sit, your body going to get a scan, and you get the report. What are the places you need to further investigation or get treated?
And what's your
So you don't need separate physician, you don't need separate radiologist, you don't need separate medical laboratory technician to support the decision.
right, right.
Because you can trust the AI decision.
That's a separate thing. That's a different. I mean, problem. It's all depend. I mean, you have now. These are like still emerging areas. Now we are talking about explainable AI, XAI. right? Whatever the decision that AI is going to give us needed to be justified, explain how that particular tool reach that uh, whatever the decision or so
Right.
yeah,
So you can't completely trust it, is what you're saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think it all depend on the algorithm that's running behind. Yeah.
Okay.
Need to be validated.
Right.
Well, I remember watching your TED talk, Dr. Prasad, and kind of pivoting from the AI part, because you talk a lot about the transdisciplinary approach to things, about not being in silos, and about this the main topic of discussion here. And AI is the thing that will leapfrog that. It gives that opportunity, right? Can you explain more about a transdisciplinary approach, and maybe you can pick an industry you like and just talk about why transdisciplinary approaches are far better than taking a monodisciplinary approach or a multidisciplinary approach.
Well, I mean, now, I mean, if you look at the knowledge acquisition processes that we are having in typical context is like you are following a course. So, which of course kind of a monodisciplinary, like it's a rail track. You learn things and get some kind of knowledge developed, right? Now, the problem here is when you go to the real world and with this expertise, you try to develop solutions, right? So most of the real world problems are like very complex due to very many different areas needed to be considered, right? Maybe political context you have to take into account, maybe economical situations you need to be taken into account, maybe administrative situations needed to be taken into account. So there are thousand different dimensions or the perspectives you have to take into account,
Right.
right? So then, of course, if you are like, for example, could be it's like a chemical type of a solution that you are trying to develop, but just knowing that is not enough to develop or deliver successful solution, right? Now, for a good example, there was one of my friends always talking about like from universities, like if this is from a chemistry related situation, right? One person was like proposing not exactly the same thing, but adding like, for example, gold or something to a polymer like a tire,
Right.
so you can increase the efficiency.
Okay.
But theoretically, it could be a very nice, attractive thing for a research paper, getting acceptance in index journal, very interesting. But when you look at the economic situation, nobody wants to add gold or some very valuable component into the tire.
Right. Makes sense.
So that situation needed to be understood, right? So that's why, I mean, like you take any industry, take agriculture. So just knowing agriculture, not enough, right? You have to understand the economic context, right? You have to understand environmental situations, right? So all these things needed to be taken into account. So that's why I always promoting like maybe you heard about. I mean, this very nice initiative that we had. I mean, I have to again mention here the Professor Ranjit Senaratne. He was the couple of years ago General President of Sri Lanka Association for Advancement of Sciences.
Okay.
Right, so they are like working in various silos, like various sections. Different sections are there. Maybe chemical, physical,
Or the hard sciences.
hard sciences, right? So he was the general president, right? Together with him, we were able to form a new unit, new entity called Transdisciplinary Studies, Committee on Interdisciplinary Transdisciplinary Studies, right?
Interesting.
Right. So now, when you look at the sciences, like I presume that you all know, like I mean, they think, right, all things happening according to a kind of a law, which is like a mathematical character, right? By conducting an experiment, this law or this formula can be understood, right? Then by repeating this experiment again, these things are going to get proved. So this is the philosophy behind science, right? But if you very carefully, I mean, so we can't trust these ideas, I guess, nowadays. When you look at the situations that you're facing, right? You can't reduce everything into a mathematical equation and say, okay, this is it.
This is it, right?
That's why we need to let all the other parties to contribute, when it's come to solution. Now, normally the situation is like the user, we traditionally we separate user from the developer, right? So as an information system engineer, I would like to see user as another developer, right? He's contributing for the development, right? Now, sciences, you have to wait until you produce kind of a knowledge, right? In computing context, right? So we can't apply scientific methodologies, right? So we have our own, like, because we are dealing with a lot of tangible things, right? So in which case we think like if you document your problem very precisely, that is kind of a contribution. So you know exactly what is the problem.
Right.
So this is the starting point, right?
Right.
So minimizing the gaps between all the related stakeholders, if you can get precisely define the problem, then 50% being solved.
Very interesting. And this is applicable to the hard sciences, this is applicable to business,
Anything.
it's applicable to
Exactly.
politics, maybe. Very interesting. So, if you were to think about this in the shoes of someone who's just starting a business, Dr. Prasad, who wants to get into the digital realm, what challenges do you see them having mainly?
The one suggestion that I could share such with such entrance is like you need set of skills develop to get involved in such a business startup.
Skills like what?
Right? Like well, I mean, one of the areas that they could refer is what you call disruptive innovations.
Right.
Right. So I mean, there may be giants, right, delivering the same or similar product in the that particular business area, right? So you have to be very innovative, right?
Using transdisciplinary approaches.
Approaches, right? Definitely, right? So you have to understand who are the relevant stakeholders, get them all involved. At least their knowledge needed to be taken into account. Because I mean, not like earlier days. I mean, if you need to get some kind of contribution from an expert, earlier days you have to go to them, talk with them. If he is not agreeing, you are not getting anything. But now it is not the case, right? Knowledge is freely available in the most of the case, right? Using AI type of tools, you can get that understanding, right? So then you simply utilize that knowledge to come up with whatever the innovative idea. I would like to put the adjective disruptive, innovative idea to be successful, right?
Right. And you don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be a completely new thing, right? For example, at least in my industry, it's like, if you do, like, it's exactly what you were talking about, Dr. Prasad. It's like you have researchers who will do their research, but in a silo. But if you were to kind of come up with an intelligence document or a report, then you are looking at geospatial data, you're looking at market port data, you're looking at OSINT data, open source data. You combine it to make an innovative stack on it. However, in terms of the digital ecosystem, where do you see it? Do you see this transdisciplinary approach cascading through to every industry in the future, or do you see this as?
Yeah, I don't see any industrial application can just rely on that particular domain, right? You need collaboration, you need coordination among all the at least very many other disciplines, other areas, right? So I can't see.
The oldest time, right? It's
Huh?
community, human community. and
Community,
working
yeah. You
together
deliver
to-
something to the society, then of course you need to, when you say transdisciplinary, one important thing is the community involvement, right? So you have to deliver something, right? So then of course you have to look at, right, the social aspect, of course, mandatory. So looking at that, right, then maybe political, economical, all these things are coming up.
I believe you've done some work with information systems in the e-commerce industry. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on how that works in the e-commerce industry? Because I know there are a lot of founders, a lot of startups that really, a lot of individuals even in their room try to get into the e-commerce business. How can they apply information systems thinking to this?
Yeah, when you say e-commerce, is very very specific
Very
area.
specific, yeah.
Basically, what is we are trying there is to connect buyer and supplier
Yes.
through digital technologies, right? But I would like to look at it as a like e-business, but bit more broader context, right? So you can utilize these technologies, right, in different ways, starting from now. Well, if you look at my dissertation or my thesis, my PhD thesis, it's about proposing some kind of extension to United Nations standards,
Okay.
right? Now, the starting point of e-commerce is identifying a potential buyer or a supplier, right? How it is happening traditionally, again, we have limitations, right? If you want to, now we are using this Uber and Pick Me to get ordered different things. But earlier days, how was it? You go to the relevant place where you can complete those purchases, right? So that is the starting part, identification of potential buyer or supplier. Then you get into, for that, of course, you can understand how technology can support, right? So there may be dedicated repositories, there may be different deployed agents, software agents that can go around and pick relevant parties with whom you can do the collaborations.
In what way does that happen exactly? You mentioned there's software agents that can go and pick relevant parties.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a bit on
Now,
that?
for example, there are different places, marketplaces,
Yeah.
right? So now, if you are searching for this is happening even without your knowledge, right? You may be searching for say, for a hotel
Yeah.
on Google. So when you go to the Facebook, you will get a lot of
Right.
advertisement. So
Right,
it's like, I mean, a customer behavior tracking, right? So early days, it's not like that. You have to phone, you have to go there and see the place, right? Now, all these things are like through information systems, right? You're getting, that is the first part, identification of the parties to be collaborated. So then you get into the next level, which you call negotiation. I'm basically going through kind of a very theoretical framework that has been again proposed by the UN those days. That the negotiation part. Now, the serious thing here is not like traditional physical domains, right? Here you don't get in-person participation when it's come to technology. So you're outside, right? So your agent or your avatar may be behaving for you, right? So then we have to understand how this negotiation is going to happen. Contract, basically, right? So as a customer, you are agreeing to pay in return whatever the settlements. As a supplier, they have to agree whatever the thing that they are agreeing to deliver upon the receipt of those settlements, payments, right? So this is could be a very simple thing like clicking on a mouse, or maybe going through a very term of agreements, and you say okay and press the button.
So this is all the work on the back end.
Yeah, right. So that is the second stage, right? Then you simply execute that contract agreement. Then buyer will be completing his payment part, maybe the supplier completing his delivery part. After that, you get into the post sales activities like maintenance and whatever the dispute could be happening, right? Again, think of an earlier days situation. You have to go to, you have to take the item.
So Dr. Prasad, what's an example you can think of a company that has been successful in implementing information systems, and a company or a domain where they implemented it and failed?
Well, I mean, for success case, I would think of like transportation industry. For example, if you look at the Pick Me, so they are very successful, right? All the conventional taxi companies has like been thrown away, gone away.
Yeah.
So that is one successful situation, right? Failure situation, there are a lot of examples, but my since my interaction is mainly with the government related, so I don't have much experience with the public sector organizations, right? But if you look at, for example, our immigration authority, right? So when I was applying my first passport to fly to Stockholm, I mean, it's a totally manual process. You have to make several visits, right? Then immediately they deploy kind of a solution, I guess, which was very nice. On the same day, I got my second passport or something like that, right? Then again, after they try to incorporate these biometrics and everything, they got stuck, right? So this could be very example that I get into my mind.
So what do you think went wrong there? Do you think they tried to do too much too soon?
No, there may be other things, right? I don't think there's no real problem with the technology that they are going to use. Maybe the other decision makers who will
Right,
that may be the case.
More political, not
Yeah,
tech.
tech related. But anyway, it's the general public thinks it's like because of this introduction of technology, it has happened.
So if you were to talk to someone, if you were to design your own information thinking model into any business you want, what are the first three things that you would go about doing this? How would you go about thinking in that way? Because most people don't think in that way, Dr. Prasad. Like, I know I can be very ad hoc sometimes, and it's like, I don't know where anything is sometimes. And then you have people who are very compartmentalized, they can see patterns, they see things that other people don't see. How can you train yourself to think in a way of a systems engineer?
Very simple for me, like answering three questions, right? First one is called why. Why do you need that solution or that information system or whatever, right? The second one is what you are going to develop. Third one is how, right? Can I map those to bit technical terms, right? When you say why, it's basically what we call goal modeling or motivation modeling.
Okay.
So you have to understand what is the goal of this whole story that you are going to try to realize. So that is the first step. So without knowing the goals, objectives, the targets, you should not start anything. Right? There must be kind of a motivation, right? So there are different theories, there are different technologies out there. You can think of adapting for that purpose. That is the first stage. Sometimes we see that this is very important stage. People are not paying much attention. People may be trying solving problems, right? Sometimes you can live with the problem without finding a solution for that problem. So you have to have that understanding, right? Right. So that is the number one why aspect. We call why aspect, right? Having understood that, okay, there is a motivation, there is a reason for you to come up with a solution. Then you get to the next one. What is it, right? So if I map this to a business context, so what is needed? Basically, you have to make kind of a profit. So what is the value that you are going to create at the end of the day? Needed to be understood, right? In economic terms, if it is a business application, right? So when you know that the value perception or value perspective of the thing that you are going to develop, you can move to the next one. So what are the processes that you need to generate those values?
Right.
Right. So those are the three major phases, I would say: goal modeling, business modeling, business process modeling in business terminology, you can say.
Right. Okay. In a business context.
Yeah, it could be applied for my understanding. It could be applied to any domain. When I say business, don't think it's like a trading, right? It could be anything, right? So if you're finding a solution, of course, you have to understand why do we need to solve that problem? Why, right? So then you have to understand what is it, what type of a solution that you're thinking of, and finally you have to understand how you are going to put that into operation. How?
What about in a personal context? If you simply want to be someone that can think in this way, not just about external things, but about your own life, how useful is this sort of thinking for someone's personal life, do you think?
Yeah, when you say goals, right, there must be some kind of a particular perspective, a particular person. So we can't have a common goal, right? Now, if we are the employer, I am the employee, we have two different
goals,
objectives, targets, right? So, that understanding is very important, right? So, if you're talking about a goal, there must be a person to whom that goal is belonging.
It has to align.
Yeah,
Right.
right. So if you look at in that way, this process that I mentioned, even for your personal things can also be applied, I guess.
Okay. What about for you personally? What is your goal? What motivates you in this?
Well, put it into very simple terms, I have somewhat I have achieved that, right? One thing is, of course, I would like to do kind of a knowledge contribution to add something to the knowledge, not to the operational level, a bit more higher, right?
Right, right, right.
Right. That is
Yeah.
one objective, right?
If I can just stop you there for a sec. You said not operational but higher. Is that because you want to think of new solutions, new things, right?
Exactly,
And you don't want to be stuck and constrained.
yeah.
Am I right?
So, yeah, I mean, in a way, like I'm a bit like maybe a bit lazy, I would say, because when you say operational, very challenging. The thing I mentioned, for example, removing the pen from a doctor and giving a keyboard, very
Right,
challenging.
right.
You need attitude change, you need different rules, regulations, everything in force to get it done, right?
Yeah.
But for me to create a conceptual model for EHR, very simple.
For you.
Simulations. You can do
Right.
the simulation with this. You
Simulation.
can prove this is working, right?
Right, right, right. Okay.
So,
Yeah, so please continue.
I can't remember the place where I stopped.
Your knowledge contribute not enough.
Yeah, that is one thing, right? You asked me, yeah, that is one goal, right? I wanted to do some kind of a knowledge contribution, right? Uh, it's a bit of kind of a transdisciplinary thing that I tried, right? So I'm from with the computer science special degree for my honors degree, and then when I was reading for my PhD, I looked into different business domain. Not only that, the contribution based a lot onto the linguistics, I would say, right?
Okay.
The theory came out before I was born into this world, right? Speech act theory, right? So I combining all these things, I came up with kind of a very nice thing during my time in Stockholm, right? So which
You,
is
you can talk about that if you'd like.
well, yeah, right. So uh, when you look at this information system, it's basically like a kind of a communication happening between two parties. So if you look at the e-commerce context, it's basically interaction between the buyer and supplier, right? So it's all about the communication, right? To get fulfill some of your desire, right? So there are a lot of theories behind this type of communication, right? Uh, so very nice theory came out in early days was the speech act theory, right? So there are like 5 categories of things that you can do with words,
Okay.
right? You can demand things, you can express. I can't remember those exactly names, right? But if you search on the speech act theory, you can find all this. It's proposed by Searle, one of the philosophers, I guess, right? And one thing is this again a linguistic called Ptolemy Stefan, right?
Okay, okay, yes.
Right.
I've heard of it.
Heard about it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So how do you persuade people to believe something that you say is correct, right? So when you say knowledge contribution, of course you have to persuade people to believe what you are contributing to some kind of real contribution, right? You have to back your claims, research claims, right? So I was looking for a model, then I found this Ptolemy and Stefan's contributions for argumentation model. How do you argue things?
Right. Because
And
I believe he mentioned something about perception and perspective, where when you argue something or try to explain something, how you are perceiving it is very different from how someone else is, receiving or perceiving it themselves. Like perception, perspective.
I named my son as Stefan because of that. I loved that concept. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic.
So basically, we have to back whatever the claim. When you think of a knowledge contribution, you have to claim something. You have to back it. So when I want to back, basically you have 2 things. You can back with reasons. You can back with evidence. So evidence basically are the things that you can understand through your 5 sensory systems. So those are evidence, right? If you're talking to the brain, that is reason, right? That is how the simple way to look at this model. Whatever the claim that you are claiming needed to be backed. So to back, we have 2 categories of things that you can utilize. One category could be seen as reasons. So if you are giving a reason, that you are talking to the brain. Right? The other category could be seen as evidence. So that means you are giving some stimulators to your 5 sensory system, right?
Okay.
Those are what
Okay.
we call data in simple context, right?
Right.
So I tried some things to contribute to with that understanding to the knowledge domain, right?
Okay.
So that is one thing I wanted to do. The other thing I wanted to do, I don't know how successful I am, to deliver, uh, to share this understanding that I got with somebody, right?
Right.
So that's one reason I end up at the university, right? Discussing these things with my students, my postgraduate students, right? Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest challenge that you see between people like you who conceptualize these things, who conceptualize technology systems, and then from, let's say, business people or sales people who are like doing it operationally? What's the biggest gap that you see here? Can you bridge that gap?
Uh,
These are only tough questions here.
yeah, it's a very tough question. I am finding how can I answer that, right? We'll think of it like a recipe,
Okay.
right? You need it, right? For example, I don't know, say down south, Ambultial, I don't know whether you heard about it, right? There's a particular way to prepare that, right? So, that knowledge may be available, operational level in that region, right? But if you want to try it out in the central part of the hill countries, right? How do you communicate that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Of course, you need a recipe, right? And the procedure to prepare that, to be followed in order to prepare the same dish, right? So when you get it into the recipe, that is something at the knowledge. You can't eat it, but still that is needed.
Right. The fundamentals.
Yeah. Now, if you want to preserve this understanding, this behavior, of course, you need this conceptualization. So if you collect all these recipes, you can say, okay, we have traditional food recipes collected. So say, okay, you can name any industry, even the medicine, right? There were a lot of traditional medications. Now we don't have that understanding. Some are like disappeared, right?
Yes.
So I born in Colombo. Even that time, our parents, our grandparents were giving very much of like very simple things for medicational purposes, right?
Right.
For different illnesses.
Yes.
But now you run to the pharmacy and get a tablet. Right?
Yeah.
So that is the change. But if you have documented those things, at least we would have tried it out, right? By combining different domains. Okay?
Sure, there's a lot of lost knowledge.
Definitely. So that is one thing. Maybe you heard about that. I am proposing kind of a framework, a kind of a unified framework where you combine different things, in which one is this knowledge integration, which is very, very fundamental thing. If you are thinking of transdisciplinary, which is not happening. If you are trying to, similar thing that I mentioned, right? If you are trying to deliver something to the medical domain, they think this is their knowledge. You can't contribute anything to that.
Contribute it. Yes.
Right? But if you think of transdisciplinary, this is the thing that you have to destroy, right? You have to transcend the boundaries and get to their territory and deliver something.
Interesting. I think I saw something recently, it's basically, Dr. Prasad, you think of vehicles, you think of planes, or, or even military technology, weapons. I read a study where if you think about the shape and the way it moves, the aerodynamics of all, that has all been taken because the military used biologists and engineers, and they used naturists,
Exactly,
and they
yeah.
studied birds, they studied fish, and they took the same concepts and used it for weapons, which would never have been possible if they had only used specialists in weaponry. And I suppose that is basically the gist of.
Exactly. You know the inventor of the stent, Sri Lankan, Mandula Vijay.
Oh, is that
Right?
so?
Mandula
Very
Vijay is Sri
interesting.
Lankan, living in America. So where he invented this
Okay.
in the kitchen.
No.
Yeah. When the sink got stuck, right? You send it and to clear the blockage. The same thing happened. Right? Huh?
Really?
That's awesome, to be honest.
That is
Wow.
a Sri Lankan from Goal, Mahinda College.
Wow.
Mandula Vijay.
Fantastic. So just to go back, in terms of the gap and communication, how would you actually communicate to somebody, how would you explain a concept that might seem very silly? Because sometimes you might conceptualize Dr. Prasad, and to someone else that might seem very ridiculous, wouldn't it? It might seem like a silly idea. Like, Dr. Prasad, please, that's kind of silly. You're just going off on a tangent now. How are you going to communicate that? And that's also something a lot of young people have a problem with, communicating ideas, communicating stuff. From your experience, do you have any take on that?
Yeah, that is also another uh, uh, area that we have to consider, especially when you're thinking of applying transdisciplinary, right?
Yes.
We are talking about meta languages,
Okay.
right? So when you get down to your own area, you are depending on, I would say, like the domain-specific terminology, right? You don't understand anything. So you take the medical domain again, right? But when you raise the level, if you go to the meta levels, we are in the position to understand these things, right? That's the situation.
When you
right?
say to raise the meta levels, what does that mean exactly?
It's like for example, when you say a particular type of disease, nobody will understand that, right? But when you fan it out to different concepts related to that particular disease, right? Maybe the symptoms, anybody can understand that, right?
Right.
Right? The terms that we all can share our understanding. So if you explain that in that terminology, that is one of the dimensions that you need for the transdisciplinary approaches, right? So you have to get out of your that particular terminology vocabulary and use kind of terms common terms.
Common terms.
Now you may have, I mean, if you are talking to expert, they will be using their own terminology. Nobody will understand that, right?
Yes.
So that's then you are not actually doing transdisciplinary kind of. You can't do that then.
You can't exactly, right? It's not possible, right? If they don't
possible.
understand each other.
Mm.
So it's about bringing yourself down to a level that anyone can
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
you.
Mm.
It's all about communication, I guess.
Yeah, again, communication. So you can, I mean,
Simple
now, for
communication.
example, when I'm doing conceptualization, like we face this situation, right? So when you're talking to the machines, of course, you need very much formalized expressions, right? Maybe mathematical expressions. The program is a maths for me, right? Mathematical expression, right?
Yes.
So I mean, if you're talking with that notations to the business community, they will not understand, right? So then, what is the conception we do? We do visual models, right? So anybody can understand visual models, right? Of course, there's a gap, but still, uh, to have some kind of interaction, that is really good.
Okay. So if
Maybe you heard about the term semiotic. Using semiotic, you can communicate symbols, different symbols.
right, yeah, like a symbiotic thing, yeah, like a universal language.
When we are sending spacecraft, we put some symbols on the
Right.
Just not
All
English,
right,
not
for the
Canadian.
aliens to see.
Aliens,
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're thinking, so you've been a professor for so long, what excites you about mentoring these students? What do you want to see happen in the future?
Uh, well, the context in which we are involving with the delivering different academic programs, very much structured, right? I would say, although we call universities, right? There are a lot of bureaucratic atmosphere when it's come to delivering. I mean, you don't get that much of freedom, right? You have to cover different topics in allocated time slots, and so it's very structured, right? But unfortunately, we have to understand. I could refer here, like there's a very nice framework came out called a Skill Framework for Information Age, SFAI, right? So if you search on the internet, you can find. So they list A to Z skills that maybe probably in next decade we would have to develop.
Could you summarize?
Yeah, out of which I would say the key number one is the creativity. Right?
Creativity.
So if a machine can learn, if a machine can adapt, if a machine can create, then what is humanity? I don't know.
What's the difference, right?
Right.
So this thing get better at your creativity so that
Yeah,
you can
we have to compete
with
with
AI?
that's
But is that even possible?
we don't know, but still, I mean, anyway, whatever the AI think that it's a human created, right? So we create, right?
True.
Although, isn't it true? Don't you think that AI is going to get more creative than human beings because it has more data points,
Definitely,
right?
definitely, definitely. I mean, creativity not only like creating agents or agent like tool, but creativity to utilize these things at least,
Yes.
right? In a proper way.
Right. And what else?
That's one thing. And the other one is, of course, the analytical skills. Very, very important, right? We don't see that much. Actually, our students are not getting a much opportunity to try these things. I mean, develop these skills, right? Rather than just memorizing, cramming on different textbooks and everything, right? I don't know. We have to change that at some stage, right? Not easy because of this, rules, regulations out there. We have to adhere with those things, right? But at least at the postgraduate level, we are trying this. But even the postgraduate students in Sri Lankan countries, they are coming to get just the certification, not to do real.
Yeah, I mean, if I can ask, I mean, because you said that it's starting to change in the postgraduate level. Do you find that it becomes too late, Dr. Prasad? Because
Yeah, because they were trained in that way, right? They're trying to repeat the same thing, how they got through the bachelor's level. They just want to follow the same approach, even to get the master's, even after the master of philosophy, or even for the doctorate,
yeah,
right? So they don't understand why PhD is there, at least when it's come to doctorate,
yeah,
PhD.
yeah.
So you have to have that philosophical understanding bit on the contributions, knowledge contribution that they have to do.
At what age do you think that you need to get a child trained and educated to start thinking in that way?
For me, it's from the kindergarten, I would say, right? Because the conceptualization start at that level, right? So this is one typical question that I'm asking from my students, right? At which level you did your model, right?
Oh, interesting.
Very first model. Can you all answer? What is the very first model you did? At what level? In which grade?
The
Very
very
first model.
first model.
Two, three.
Maybe, maybe deciding what to eat in a certain way,
No, kind of a model, the representation,
a representation of
conceptualization that
something.
you did. At what level?
Maybe like
You
last
get
year.
what it meant by a model, huh?
Oh, yeah.
The reality is there, right? It's like a replica.
Yeah.
No, can you remember anything?
I'm trying.
Yeah, and now it's so interesting, Dr. Prasad, because it's very concerning.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
It's very sad and concerning. Yeah.
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
Maybe you drawing a mango, right?
Right.
It's a model, right? So then you can of course discuss. I mean, you draw a mango, right? What's the problem there when you have a model? It's a simplification of the reality, right?
Right, because if you say draw a mango and I draw a mango and he draws a mango, it might not actually be a mango, right? Like,
No, some expect. I mean, there must be a purpose, right? When you're creating a model, there must be a purpose, right? You may be showing the shape. That is one purpose, right? If you add color, maybe you get the color, the representation of the color into the model that you did, right? If you do a 3D thing, you get the spatial context or the volume of that concept, right? So
okay.
it's depend now with the technology. What is happening? We are getting more and more close to the reality. So then you will be finding difficult to differentiate between the reality and the fantasy show, the model,
The model,
right?
very interesting.
If you draw a model like you may just a mango, just the shape, right? When you add color, you have the shape and the color. If you create it like a sculpture, then it's like a 3D thing,
3D thing.
right? Is you getting closer and closer to the
To
reality.
reality.
But when you have this technology with the emerging areas like AR, VR, MR, XR, quantum computing, AI, so very challenging. We don't know. I mean, you know that we are
Is
living
it
in.
scary for you?
we have to be prepared to face this, ne?
How does one prepare for something like this? Because we don't even know what it's going to
Yeah,
look like.
basically, I mean, you have to understand you are living in three worlds, right? One is the physical world with the tangible things, and we have this conceptual or the information world. You can't touch and feel. But in addition, we have this immersive world in between, partly virtual, partly physical, right?
Could you elaborate a bit more on the immersive world?
Computing games,
Right.
Virtual reality.
virtual
Right.
reality. When you say virtual, it's purely virtual,
Virtual,
right?
yeah.
It's like augmented reality or something like that.
Right. Where do you see that going in some time?
Mm.
Do you think we live in a simulation?
Mm.
Do you think we live in a simulation?
We have started living in simulations, right? I presume you have your avatar or you have a kind of a existence in the metaverse, right?
Okay.
That is there, right? And the problem is now there's a concept called digital twins, right? You have your own brother living in another space, right?
Right.
But most important thing is synchronization. So the registration of whatever the thing that you do in the your avatar on the cyberspace, right? If they're not telling, right? Even sometimes you may be getting a greeting from the dead people. Maybe very scary.
I mean, you worked with young people all your life, Dr. Prasad, like, but it's very new. I know that our generation and let's say people who are like kids who are 15 today, 15, 16, that's a 9-year age gap. It's very different because I think we still remember a time where we played outside on the street, play cricket and football and got hurt and injured. And then, when we were like 12, 13, 14, it started changing.
That's true.
Where do you see this generation going with you thinking about a very dystopian technology future?
Actually, I wrote a book called Digital Anthropology.
Okay.
Right? But in Sinhala, actually, I wrote this with another professor from Faculty of Anthropology, right?
Okay.
So they were talking about the human behavior, human evolution, and everything, right? Unfortunately, they were not focusing much on to the, when you look at a particular person, out of 24 hours per day, they may be spending more than 50% with the digital, in front of a digital screen,
Today, yeah.
right? And also we have to get all these things redefined, right? For example, if you look at a crime, those days maybe you take a knife or something and hitting onto someone, that could be a crime, right? But nowadays maybe you just moving your thumb, right? Doing a crime, right?
True.
Right. So this understanding is needed, right? There are a lot of theories that you can talk about these things, right? What else? From UCL, University College of London, one professor Daniel, I guess, right, came, even in my book, I refer to him, right, came up with a set of principles or theories that you can understand this digital anthropological domain, right, out of which the number one is dialectic nature, right? So very like you are arguing on anything, right? Early days it's not like that. If your parent or if your priest telling us something, we believe that, right? No
Yes,
arguments,
no
right?
arguments, yeah.
Or we are not criticizing, right?
Yes, or questioning.
Yeah, no questioning, right? So that is the culture we used to. I mean, during my time, right? But now you people are very very much challenging, even maybe for against your parents, it could be against your teachers, right? So that is happening, right?
Teachers for sure.
Yeah, this is a shift. In a way, it's very nice, right? I would say, right? And also another principle. There are six or something like that, but I can't remember all. Another thing is this humanity, right? Some people think it's disappearing with the technological adaptation, but he's arguing on a different way, right? For example, you are getting much closer, right? Now, those days when I was out, my parents were not knowing where I am, right? They are not asking anything, right? But with the technology, they can even trace my location, right? 1,000 calls receiving, right? කොහෙද ඉන්නේ කෑවද, right?
Right. So, are you an optimist or a pessimist when it comes to technological change?
Well, it's a very hard question, right? It's something in between, I would
You want to be
say.
an optimist, but you feel like it's
It's
gonna,
good, yeah.
What are you afraid of, though, Dr. Prasad? So, the first question is, what are you afraid of? And then the second question is, what do you think will be the biggest
Yeah, the
benefit?
afraid of course, is the cultural values, right? Normally, we that is the I mean, at my age, we understood different cultural values, right? Which are not with my kids, my children's, right? So that is because of the technology, I would say, right?
Cultural values as in
Value,
your
yeah,
own culture.
yeah, gone down. So that is one thing. Again, for that, like I mean. There are two perspectives, right? When you're looking at some idea of maybe a moral values or something like that, you can, within the same culture, you can look at that. That is one approach, right? For example, the Sri Lankan culture that we are having, you can look at, you can criticize or you can argue on other cultural related concepts or the behaviors, right? The other possibility is you can get out of your own culture and you look at the things, right? Which is very hard thing, but that is also one possibility, right? So I don't know which one is correct, which one is incorrect, right? It's
Right.
very hard. I mean, you can draw a line and say, okay, you have to, within the same culture, you have to look at all the other things, or you have to get out of your cultural values things and try to understand what is good, what is bad. I don't have an answer for that actually.
Tough one. It's a tough one.
Tough question.
From philosophical standpoint?
Yeah, again, I mean, these things were discussed by Kant, Immanuel Kant. Yeah. Simple thing that we all can adapt is if you can deliver greatest good for a greatest number, that is good.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Huh?
That's the goal you're saying.
That's the goal that you can have.
What about your students? Are they optimistic?
Yeah, yeah. I
When they
mean,
talk to you?
this generation, Z generation, yeah,
Excited.
excited too.
For the future and
Yeah,
technology.
yeah. There are a couple of exceptions, but majority
Feel like they will do good
they're
with the
good with
technology.
How do you think AI has kind of affected, the way your students learn? Do you think it's doing something good or something bad?
Now again, I mean, every time when you're experiencing something, we go back and see what was the situation during that time with this type of technological introduction, right? For example, if you look at the calculator, simple calculator, right? Those days, our parents were just without using any calculator, they can do any calculation very quickly, right? But now we can't do that, right? At least you have to go for a calculator app and do the additions and divisions, right? But we live with that. I mean, have we lost anything? I mean, with that shift?
I think it depends on how you utilize it, right? You can learn a lot from it, but you can also, really unlearn a lot too, I think, because you rely so much on, artificial intelligence and not on your own intelligence.
No, the one way we can look at that is like I mean, of course, you have to use your brain, right? Uh, so if you can save the utilization for some other task, that is also good, right?
Yeah.
Rather than
Exactly.
yeah, that could be. That's why I say it's creativity is very challenging, right? We, as you all know, like we have not understood what are the jobs, future jobs, for example. We don't know, right? So then, of course, there is a challenge. You don't know what skill to be developed, right? So you have to be prepared for that, right? So for that purpose, you have to utilize your brain. I mean, to develop other skills like creativity, how you come up with, how you analyze things using whatever the tools available in around you, right? How do you collaborate with people? How do you share ideas and get the thing done, right? So those.
So based on what you're saying, it seems like most of the skills that you need are human skills.
Exactly.
With more technology,
Yeah,
and the more human you
yeah.
can be, the better it is. Very interesting. When you say that there will be new jobs that you can't even think about today, have you come across any of that in your career, Dr. Prasad, where you're thinking of, oh, that's an interesting job that was never there before?
Yeah. For example, prompt engineering. Right.
Prompt engineering.
You've seen that job like actively in Sri Lanka, or is that like prompt engineering as a job? Is that something you've seen as a common thing now?
Well, I mean, people are delivering different services. I mean, utilizing. They don't claim they are a prompt engineer or something like
Yes,
that, but
yes.
they are providing some other service,
Right,
right?
right.
The tools that are used. I mean, if you very carefully analyze his role, what type of activities that he is doing to deliver whatever the value for intended customers, we would simply say he's a prompt engineer, right? So that's the thing, right? You can't tag people with the different
Label
job
anymore.
roles. That could be the one possible situation, right? So when you say prompt engineering, he could deliver to any domain, maybe medical, maybe education, right? Without knowing anything. But he is very creative. Maybe he put everything very nicely. Maybe text, maybe media, different media, and create some kind of a very nice information solution for the intended parties.
That makes sense.
So you don't believe, so in your belief, if you take blue collar jobs like plumbers, uh, electricians, etc., they say that's the road you should go down. And white collar jobs, you're done. AI is going to replace you, and nobody. It's like a funnel, right? Dr. Prasad is like
Maybe-
there'll be the few, and then what do you think?
Maybe
of
you
that?
heard about this pregnancy humanoid?
Yes, in China, in
No,
am I right?
Singapore.
In
In
Singapore.
YouTube, right?
That was so dystopian, Dr. Prasad.
Right? Humanoid. Pregnancy humanoid, right? So is it a good thing or bad thing?
Could you explain what this is a little bit?
The pain the mothers are
Right.
undergoing for this 10 months time is given to a robot. So you are just, I mean, as a male, you are just a donor.
That's an actual thing. That's
With a real
Yeah, yeah.
baby. Yeah.
So as a male, you are just a donor.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I personally think it's a very bad thing because it takes away from who we are as humans.
Have you talked? I mean, this is your person. I mean,
But this applies to everything. Like, I mean, of course, like we should find ways to, if there is, the thing is, childbirth is such it's a tough topic to like talk about.
But you're coming from
that's
like
a male.
spiritual
Yeah, you have to talk to. I mean, somebody.
I'm thinking about humanity and what we've kind of, stood for for our entire lifetime. Like childbirth is a very natural.
Now again, I have
beautiful-
here one good experience in Sweden. My second child delivered in a Karolinska hospital, one of the very big hospital in Stockholm, right? So I was given the opportunity to separate mother from baby. I had to do that.
yourself. Why?
So that's the culture there, right? They clip the thing and asking me to cut baby from the mother. So you have to get that experience and then you.
But you don't think even those kind of experiences what kind of makes us human?
I didn't feel anything, any pain, but I saw the situation. You have to be there, but in Sri Lanka you don't get this opportunity unless.
So you're kind of saying that it's better because it's taking away the pain from the mother and stuff in a way.
I don't have a clear answer for that, right? I am partly agreeing with him at the same time. But at the same time, I have to look at. I recall the situation, right?
Okay, fair enough.
But it is tough though, because like what you just brought up is a very valid point. It is also good to take away the pain of this kind of things, but it also takes away the humanity, and then it's like, okay, where do you stand with that?
Well, but then this is kind of the gray area that I was intended to go into this podcast about because this is such a gray area. How do you even deal with this, Dr. Prasad? How? Like from an academic standpoint or from a practical standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, all the contributions that we do in the academic context or by doing research is to make our lives much better, comfortable, right? So in that context, there may be some aspects, even when you look at this pregnancy humanoid, that is situation. But there are other things. I mean, I spent some time in Reading University for my postdoctoral studies.
In the UK?
Yeah. In that university, there was a professor called Warwick. I can't remember his other name. He has implanted some of the chips in the body, like a bionic things.
Or has he?
So, yeah. So I don't know whether it is a good or bad, right? He can see more than what we see. He can listen more than what we listen.
Is this Neuralink? Did he insert
Yeah.
Neuralink?
No,
Elon
yeah,
Musk's. Yeah, Elon Musk.
yeah. So these things are there, right? Like a bionic type of thing, bionic soldiers, right?
Yes, super soldiers.
Super soldiers.
Would you insert? Because I know that one of the big things is with this technology transition is we as humans are going to merge with technology. We already walk around with our phones. Our phones are a part of us. It's not separate from our hands or our legs or our ears. The phone, it's part of us. You can't go 2 minutes without your phone.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Completely.
So if transhumanism is the future, would you ever go ahead with that? Go along with that?
At my age, I don't like, of course, right? Because I enjoyed, I valued these traditional, yeah, cultural values, right? I don't know for example, my kids or my children in that generation, they may,
To them, that'll be the norm, no? Yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to Mars very soon. It's not good.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, Doctor, is if you could speak to audiences that might just be coming out of school, looking to get enrolled at a university, get that degree. Are there any degrees you'd say stay away from at this point? Don't do it. You're just wasting your money because the world is changing too much, and this is not even going to
Now,
exist.
actually speaking, what I see is these universities are no more needed, I guess, right?
Wow.
Universities in
Yeah,
general.
I mean, if you look at the trend or the direction we are heading towards, right? It's just a paper qualification, right? Whatever whatever the experience or whatever the knowledge that you are gaining through those traditional or conventional study programs can within a you can get it, right? So that's why again, you have to think of different set of skills to get developed. That's the advice that I can give, right? Now, even if you look at my industry, IT industry, there are a lot of people without any qualification. They do very nicely in the industry.
But what does that mean then? I mean, with regards to the question I asked, does that mean now that they should not even go to university? Should they purely focus on those skills you were referring to?
I mean, still, we are valuing those things, right? I mean, this ladder. Oh, I mean, getting different qualifications. Bachelor's doing is a very good thing. I mean, that is the perception that we are having in the typical cultural context, or not only culture, even in the global context. That is the recognition that you can show, right? But I mean, with the services or with the advancement happening with these technological tools, my feeling is those things are not necessary actually.
Right.
Right? You can get that knowledge at anybody can get that knowledge even without getting into the university, right? That is possible. What is needed is you have to understand how to access that knowledge, right? There are no barriers. I mean, if it is in Japanese, you can get it translated very easily, right?
But if you want to become a doctor, then going to medical university is something that you will have to do, right? Stuff like that.
I'm not sure how long it's going to get continued. I mean, if this is going to happen, right? You can let an algorithm to do the operation in a far away. Maybe could be the case, right? No human involvement at all. Could be the situation. We don't know. There are some such attempts.
Do you think this is evolving way too fast? Do you think it should happen at a slower rate and should be regulated a lot more?
Yeah. Validation needed to be. I mean, that's also very. I mean, even in a typical information system delivery, we go for different versions, right? Now with this competition, you try to release things very without testing, without validating, for a long run. But I think when it's come to medical context, they need a lot of these clinical trials and everything before really deploying those solutions.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just want to go back to what Enosh asked also, which is, what do you think people should focus on studying, because objectively, if, in my opinion, if you were to go to university and study like gender studies, then that's not going to get anyone very far, I think. But if you were to go to university and study information systems, then that's a very big difference, right?
That's true.
So,
For the, yeah.
what should people be focusing on, like math, science, that kind of thing, or is it okay to, you want to study gender studies, so you can do that?
Now, for example, when you look at these technological solutions that we are developing, right? Again, it's not like purely depend on one particular set of skills, right? Analytical, mathematical skills may be needed, right? At the same time, aesthetic or very artistic thinking are also very much needed, right? For example, when you think of these simulations or these virtual environments, right? To design, to support people interact with those spaces. Other than like very logical thinking, you need to have this aesthetic and
that kind of mindset.
even the culture needed to be represented in these spaces, right? So in that case, I think these faculties, I mean, they are not focusing right now. So that is one reason I introduced this digital anthropology area, right? Because those are the areas that we have to explore more, right?
Digital anthropology.
Even the forensic type of things, right? Earlier days we were dissecting dead bodies or everything, but now you have to look at the digital footprints
of
right?
Everything
to understand what has happened. So all these are like different areas that we can. I'm not talking about the technological thing, but there are other areas that we need to explore more, and how those things can deliver something to the societies. Need to be taken into account, right?
Okay, we can. It's great. We can end by. I would just like to end with asking you, what would you recommend to all your students, to everyone else that's watching?
Sorry, one more thing to add for your question regarding the educational context. Basically, two categories are there, right? I mean, we all have to focus as educators or involving with academia, right? One is this upskilling, right? Somebody is coming from O-level, low A-level streams, so we have to focus on a particular area and develop those skills. That is one thing. The other thing is even for the students coming out from other disciplines, we have to do kind of a reskilling. Right, so we have to prepare them how their industry or how their those different domains are going to get changed with the introduction of these technologies. Right, so both needed to be taken into account, right, when we're designing our study programs.
Right.
Upskilling and reskilling.
Upskilling and reskilling.
Right.
I mean, that's awesome. But like, do you personally think that's gonna happen anytime soon in Lanka, at least? Practically speaking, the next 20 years, is it even, do you think?
Now, every time we miss the bus, right?
Every time, yeah.
But I don't know. So we should not miss this opportunity, right?
What are the biggest blockers, do you think, that are stopping, like, you have this great ideas. What are the blockers that might stop like people like you, doctor, from actually implementing that for our country,
Very simple. It is this compartmentalized thinking, right? So if you look at the University Grants Commission, they have different what we call standing committees for dedicated subjects, right? Right. So if you are in the computing standing committee, you look at everything from the computing point of view. So if you are in the social standing committee, you look at everything from the sociological point of view. So you have to destroy all these boundaries, right? And on the common table, they have to take decisions, right?
Which won't happen, you think?
We have to, right? So we tried that in the SLAS, which is a very scientific, I mean, still people are against those ideas, right? They are introducing these interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary things.
Is that purely because of inertia? It's fear.
Inertia. And even I think, I mean, these concepts are not like purely coming from eastern part of the world. These are like even in West, right? Science Council proposed this type of approach needed to be taken into account when you're trying to solve complex problems,
Yes.
right? But I don't know why people are not reading those ideas, right? Even UN, EU are recommending these approaches. Citizen science is one huge area. Right? You can't neglect the citizens, right? If you're proposing any solution
Yeah.
for them.
Yes.
And the science diplomacy we are talking about, right? Whatever the thing, you have to be open as much as possible.
To be open.
Responsible research and innovation. So those are very nice concepts. We don't really practice that, right? So if we are really doing responsible research, we may not have created these atomic bombs or nuclear weapons or whatever.
True.
Even for the AI, that is the thing, right? So we have to seriously look at those very valuable things, right? Which I was preaching during my transdisciplinary framework. Right? We call risk. I call it risk OC, right? Responsible, inclusive, sustainable knowledge. Knowledge means integrating all knowledge systems. And we have open O, and C is standing for collaborative and adaptive management.
Riscosi. Right. Very interesting. This is a model that sounds great. Then you also have people who will never like follow it. Right? It's like, okay, you can do that, but morals, ethics? I don't care about morals, ethics. I'm going to go ahead with my technology untested. I don't care. What happens then?
That's the
It's a humanity problem, yeah.
no, all these things again, I would say, have to start from the kindergarten. Right? So if you want to successful these solution deployments, we have to prepare the future Sri Lankan at that level. So that is the one layer we have not think as like a very important segment in our education system, kindergartens.
That's a very long-term vision. Like whoever says that has to say, I'm going to do this, but I might not even be alive to see the results. But who has that?
What about the people in this lifetime? Do you have any words to say to them about, how they can, what's the word I'm looking for?
Survive?
Well, adapt to this constantly changing environment, right? Changing world.
No. I mean, if you look at the Sri Lankans, we are very much adaptive, right? We can. I mean, compared to other countries, that is something that I have experienced, right?
that true?
You take any disaster, we can adapt to those situations very nicely, right? Which will be even for the technical, whatever the advancement happening. Of course, our people will get very quickly adapted to those things, right? At least the younger generations very easily they can catch up with, right? That is good thing. I mean, when you look at our communities, right? Sri Lankan communities, right? Which you don't see in some other countries, right?
True, especially in the Western world. Well, just final question, Dr. Prasad. It's like, that's very interesting what you said, because we are a collective society, and then you have the West that is very individual society. So they act in silos, but we have a community kind of thing. However, when it comes to innovation and etc., the individualistic society seems to be doing much better in terms of collaboration than the collective societies. Why do you think that is?
Because when you behaving like an individual person in a society, you have to survive, right? You have to fight, right? For everything from the time you completed your school, you have to find your own income to survive in the society, right? You can't depend on your parents, right? So this is challenge, right? So they find ways to survive, right? But our case, I mean, even after getting married with the children, still you depend on your parents sometimes, right? Right. So that's what I mean. You are waiting for somebody to guide you, right?
Yes.
You are waiting for somebody to give you a opportunity. So that is not good, right? So we have to. I don't know. That is one reason, right? Otherwise, even I don't know. Maybe even as a society, as a team. Maybe it is possible, but then again you have to train the communities to behave in as a one single group and try to achieve those objective targets, right? Which we have not practicing that much. Earlier days, it could be the case, right? When you look at all these historical creations, that may be the reason, right? As a team, people work achieving that objective. Maybe the temple was there to guide everybody, or the king was there to guide everybody. Under him, we all work together to achieve those targets, right? But now we are like bit of confused with the evolution happen in political context, I would say, right? Maybe the democracy, we don't understand it very clearly. What is it, right? So if we are giving an order, we may be very good at doing that order, right? And colony type of a theory could be considered even, I don't know. So you have to rethink all this, right? Democracy good, but if you don't understand how do you achieve targets,
Achieve targets, yeah.
right?
Okay. Last question is, we'll end with this. What's the future of Sri Lanka and the future of young people here? Do you encourage people to come back?
Those who
Left?
Those who left.
Yeah, by what means we are going to encourage them? That is my question, right? By what means we have to encourage them to come back, right? There must be some role that they can play if they are going to return, right? We have to pave that platform, right, for them to return and deliver something. Now, you see that, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, there are no geographical boundaries now, I mean, with the technological advancement, right? So you can live anywhere and do whatever the thing that you need to do, right? All those who have migrated to different developed countries, so-called developed countries, they may be losing some other aspect, at least weather, right? Half a year without sun, my experience in Stockholm, right?
Very interesting.
Anything else you want to tell the audience?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of good things that we can do with the technological adaptation, right? So we have to do that. At the same time, I think now I call this download attitude.
Okay.
We should get rid of that, and we have to try something to be uploaded. That Rohan is trying, I think that is a very good thing, right? Something to be uploaded, right? So your ideas, then the people will see that we exist in this world.
True.
Right, so that is very important. That is the responsibility that I would like to give to future generations, right? Rather, of course, you can download, but at the same time, you have to upload something to the spaces.
Very interesting. Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you.
And to the audience, please go check out Dr. Prasad's work and give that a go. It's very thought-provoking, to say the least.